In Jerry's world, it was radio silence. The lovable losers. That's what the Cowboys are. They're lovable losers. If you've not heard the latest from the greatest, perhaps not, we have learned that neither the owner and GM, Jerry Jones, nor his spawn, who runs much of the Cowboys' day-to-day operations, Stephen Jones, neither one of them will be making an appearance on the radio in Dallas. Each of them have radio shows every week. Jerry has 2 of them, but they will not be appearing to recap the Cowboys' season and the playoff loss against the Green Bay football team. So let us discuss the question. What is your reaction to Jerry Jones skipping out on that final weekly radio appearance after the Cowboys took it on the chin against the Green Bay Packers? So I've got Bunker, Marco Polo, and paint by numbers. And all of that is no sooner said than it is done. We'll get to it right now. So first of all, things are bubbling. They're bubbling up. They absolutely are in Dallas and the greater Dallas area, Jerry's world. That entire metroplex is Jerry's world. So had the Cowboys won against the Packers, methinks that Jerry Jones would have been playing grab ass and doing a pirouette on the catwalk with the talk show host. But since they lost, he's become a Lions fan, Jerry Jones. He's a fan of the Cowardly Lion. That's his favorite there. And so Jerry and his son, Steven, here's what I imagine is happening right now in Dallas. They are in the bunker. Now, it's a very nice bunker. It's not like you imagine in those movies, a bunker where it's kind of muddy. There's sandbags, and there's a lot of people praying, and there's a lot of weird things going on in those things. It's not like that. It's not like the movies. They're in a bunker that has the most expensive sheets, that has every comfort you could possibly want, and they're barricading themselves from reality. That is what the Cowboys are doing. That's it. I mean, they're hiding out, right? They're like, maybe the heat will get off us in a couple days, and we'll just kind of hang out here. And they're contemplating what's next. The fact that Jerry Jones and his son both have played dodgeball with radio shows in Dallas, that is a dead giveaway. That is a dead giveaway that Jerry Jones is waffling. He is waffling. If the Cowboys were totally committed to Mike McCarthy, if they loved Dakota Prescott and they wanted to show their support in a moment of need, when everyone's making fat jokes about Mike McCarthy and goofing on Dakota Prescott as a man who falls apart in big games. And so Jerry could have come out. That's what leadership is. You come out when times are tough and you yell into the microphones. You don't whisper. You yell into the microphones that Dak Prescott's my guy and that Mike McCarthy's my coach. But the fact that they're hiding, that tells us that they are considering some changes. What exactly those are, we'll find out. But you open up the talking points memo for Jerry Jones and crisis management. They're preparing for a public relations counteroffensive, if you will, to try to squash the negative noise, although Jerry's always said any publicity is good publicity when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. But there is blood in the water right now for Dallas. Now, turning the page, a team that has blood red in their colors. They play in Georgia. It's page 2 here. Atlanta is big game hunting. This is not a made-up story. Bill Belichick cleaned out his office in New England, and within a few days had already lined up an interview. The Falcons announced that they had interviewed Bill Belichick, and now the Falcons are saying, hey, we want to go another big-name coach. We're going big game hunting here. And they have interviewed Jim Harbaugh. Say what? Yeah, Jim Harbaugh. He's a Michigan man. I don't know how he feels about peaches in Georgia. But the Atlanta Falcons, one day they meet with Belichick. The next day they meet with Jim Harbaugh. So how do you read the Jim Harbaugh powwow, the Jim Harbaugh meet and greet with the Falcons after he met with the Chargers? So Harbaugh is going Marco Polo. He's going Marco Polo, as in he's an explorer. He's exploring his options right now. He's on a voyage around the NFL, to the boondocks of the NFL, the backwater towns. It's all a big game of charades. Is it true? Even if the Atlanta Falcons or the LA Chargers wanted to hire Jim Harbaugh, they would not be allowed to hire him at this time. You see, there's this thing called the Rooney Rule, and the Rooney Rule is saying you cannot, if you're the Chargers or the Falcons, hire any coach right now. Now, why is that? You say, well, the Patriots hired a coach. Let me explain. The NFL's Rooney Rule mandates that teams cannot hire a new coach without interviewing at least 2 external minority candidates in person. So the new NFL hiring guidelines, and they did adjust this a little bit, prohibit face-to-face interviews until January 22nd. So that means today's the 17th of January, so we have 5 more days. 5 more days to get through before Jim Harbaugh can be hired as an NFL head coach. So the waiting game continues. The waiting game rolls on. All right, final thought. Headline from the Twin Cities, and suck it up, Buttercup. Russell Wilson, his days numbered in Denver. He's expected to be let go by the Broncos, and we were reading that Russell Wilson's camp is really excited about the possibility of playing for Minnesota. Say what? Yeah. So is Russell Wilson a realistic option for the Vikings going forward in 2024? So I'm going to rubber stamp this. It seems like a no-brainer. It's a paint-by-numbers situation. It's ABC. It's 1, 2, 3. The Broncos have to release Russell Wilson because Sean Payton hates him. They have to swallow all of that dead cap. That's $85 million, but it's close to $40 million guaranteed this upcoming season. So the Vikings, when I say paint by numbers, the Broncos, first of all, have to release Russell Wilson. Check. The Vikings then have to say goodbye and not make a serious effort to bring Kirk Cousins back. Check. And then if those two things happen, it's on like Donkey Kong. And Russell Wilson, we know that Russ is not bashful. Mr. Unlimited, Russell Wilson is going to go on a public tour, a courtship tour, with all the usual suspects, the teams that don't have quarterbacks, that have a blank spot. The Vikings, if they let Cousins go, don't have a quarterback. The Washington Commanders, the Atlanta Falcons, the Pittsburgh Steelers, none of them have quarterbacks. Right now, the Chicago Bears don't have a good quarterback. And there's plenty of other teams that also are lacking in that department. Now, why Minnesota, though? Why is Minnesota high on the list? Well, they're a fringe playoff contender. They're a faux playoff contender. But they got 2 total studs, difference makers at wide receiver, led by Justin Jefferson, with a wink and a nod to Jordan Addison. So those guys are set at wide receiver. They play in a dome, so you don't have to worry about bad weather. You're in a winnable division, with all due respect to the Lions and Packers who are playing on divisional weekend, and also the Bears who are not. No one thinks any of those teams are a burgeoning dynasty out of the division. So the division's a manageable division. And regardless of that, even if Russ went to Minnesota, he would be a stopgap. The Vikings have done this off and on over the years. They've had Randall Cunningham went there. I can go through a whole, I don't do lists, but there's a whole bunch of quarterbacks who played for a year or two in Minnesota that were kind of near the end of their career, passing through the Vikings. But Russ is a stopgap. He would be a temporary solution to a long-term problem. It's like having a broken tooth. You break your teeth or tooth in your mouth there, and what you do is you get that ibuprofen, pharmacy-grade ibuprofen. You get that. You cover the tooth with some dental wax. You eat soft food, and you try to get into a dentist as quickly as you can. Those are all the moves that you make. And putting Russell Wilson out there, if you're the Vikings, while he might play okay statistically, it's like breaking your tooth and putting dental wax in so you can get through with some ibuprofen.